Hey Facebook, it's Michelle Crawford here from Being More Human. So if we haven't met yet, hi, I'm Michelle, and I'd love to know what your name is. If you're going to jump on and have a listen to our live stream today, it'd be fantastic if you could let us know that you're here and ask a question and maybe send a love heart or two if you like our topic of the day. So I was thinking, actually I was at boot camp this morning, and when I was at boot camp, the trainer said to me, oh yeah, Monday's your live stream day, isn't it? And I went, oh yeah, we'll do a live stream today. So I've been having a little bit of a reflect and a think on what topic that we should talk about. And it's one of those funny things for me. Sometimes I'll get a topic and it'll just be in my head, and that's absolutely what I'm going to live stream about. And other times I have to sort of think about it and work out if it feels like the right thing to talk about. So today it was in that category where I was having a think, and I was driving around town in between two other different things that I had to do. And I was thinking about the topic of choices. And I was quite literally, and I love it when things like this happen, by the way, I was quite literally sitting at a traffic light thinking about, is choice the right choice of topic? And as, you know, the universe would have it, or synchronicity, or however you like to describe it, as I'm sitting there at the traffic light, a car takes a turn right in front of me with a big, fat, colourful word on the side of the car. And yes, you're right, the word was choices. So to me, that was a bit of a sign or an affirmation, if you like, that choices was the thing to talk about today. So when considering choices, there's one story that comes to my mind is, and it's a story I've written about in the Being More Human book, which is due to be out by Christmas. And I tell a story of after living in Africa and not being able to go to too many supermarkets. Maybe in one supermarket you might have one kind of milk that's available. And after being in that environment and not having a lot of choice of milk, for example, I came home here to Australia and I went into, I don't know if it was Coles or Woolworths, and went up to the back of the supermarket where they always stock the plethora of different choices that they have of milk. And I was literally immobilized. I was standing looking at the milk section and I couldn't move. I'd been, you know, in the middle of deepest, darkest Africa, and I was back in this supermarket in the middle of Australia, and the choice was quite literally overwhelming. So it's kind of a funny story because in the end, I didn't buy any milk at all because I actually couldn't work out how to make the choice. There was so many choices. I turned around and walked out of the supermarket. So in that particular case, in my scenario, there was too many choices. So I want you to think about a time in your life where you've had a particular situation and you've had too many choices. And some of you might find that easy to do. But I hear the opposite much more often. So what I hear much more often in coaching and working with people in organisations is we have no choice. Someone else has chosen. It could be a range of different things. Hi Mel, thanks for coming in and commenting. We do it to kids at Christmas. Fantastic point. Okay, we overwhelm them with so many presents and gifts that we're giving to them because we want it to be a nice experience, but they don't know where to start. Great point, Mel. So the bit about feeling or knowing whether or not you have choice, to me, that's the most interesting bit, because my particular philosophy around this is that we always have choice. However, very often we've already eliminated a number of those choices when we're feeling like we're squished into a corner and we can't think of anything else to do. So it's fascinating to me that we can go through that process of eliminating different options and reducing ourselves down to one choice. And let me use a tangible example. So if you're in a job that you're really not loving, okay, let's say you're in a job that is not adding to your world, you're not enjoying it, it's not motivating you to get out of bed every morning, but it pays you money and you pay the bills. So in that kind of an example, I would expect you to say to me, I have no choice, I have to pay the bills, okay? The interesting thing about that is you actually do have choice. You have a range of different choices, and for whatever reason, you've already eliminated a whole bunch of those different choices or options. At the end of the day, you have full and complete choice about where you work, as an example. Obviously, someone has to offer you a job there, but you're the one that has to apply for a job there in the first place. So you have a lot of choice about things in your life that it can be all a little bit too easy to say, I don't have a choice, I can't change it. Even in the sort of situation, I'm just trying to think of a situation where you might have a terminal illness, a diagnosis of a terminal illness. Okay, you didn't choose to have that. That's fine. I think we can all happily agree to that. However, when you receive that particular diagnosis, you then have a whole range of choices and ways in which you can interact with a whole range of different therapies, what kind of system you're going to go in, the more conventional health system or a more integrated health system. You have a range of doctors that you might go to. You might choose to have no kind of therapy or treatment whatsoever. So although you haven't had a choice about receiving the diagnosis, you still have a range of choices about what to do in that particular situation. So the first thing is, when you think you don't have a choice, my argument would be you do. And the best way to be able to see that is to pretend that you are stepping out of yourself and looking back. If you pretend you're stepping out of yourself and you're sitting on a wall and looking back down at yourself, you'll have an entirely different perspective about how you see other options. So that's the way to see more choices. That's the first tip. The other thing that I wanted to share about choices is that it's very easy to get caught up in this idea. Like the reason I was immobilized when I was standing in front of the milk, because in my mind I was going, which one is the right choice and which one is the wrong choice? And what's fascinating to me about that is, if you ask me today, I actually don't believe there's such a thing as a right choice or such a thing as a wrong choice. I simply believe that we make choices with the information that we have at the time, and usually we try to head in a direction that we think is going to be good for us. Not always, but in general. So I actually don't believe that there's any inherent rightness or wrongness about a choice that we make. However, if you think about the idea of consequences, that's what really makes it interesting. Because clearly, if you make a particular choice to do a crime, for example, there's a whole range of consequences that go with that choice. All right? So in my mind, it doesn't make it a wrong or a right choice. It simply makes it a choice that you've made, and you have reaped the rewards of a certain set of consequences about that choice. So the thing that, to me, that's a really powerful shift in perception around choice, and certainly in my own life as well. I'm just going to read what Mel's written again. So many immobilized parents wanting to get it right for their kids. Oh, the pressure. Fantastic example. Like, let's use disciplining your child. Okay, so for me, I've made a series of choices about the way that I want to discipline my children. And I could easily, very easily, get caught up with, is that the right choice? Is that the wrong choice? Is someone else's right or wrong? Is this author right or wrong? At the end of the day, we have to be able to trust our gut and trust our intuitive judgment about the choice we believe is going to create the outcome that we want. So I'm just going to say that again. Again, I don't believe in right or wrong choices. I simply believe that we make choices with the information that we have at the time, and that either leads us further toward an outcome that we want in our life, or further away from an outcome that we have in our life. And again, I'll use another tangible example. If you think about, love the love hearts, whoever's sending those, keep going. If you think about the idea of exercising, and you get up in the morning, and so for me, I'll use my example this morning. I set my alarm. So first of all, it's a choice to do that. It's a choice to then get up when it buzzes. It's a choice to say, yes, I'm going to get my gear on and actually get out of the house and actually attend boot camp. Now, in that decision-making process, there's probably 20 different times where I could have made a different choice and quite happily stayed in bed and snored for longer. If you are making choices with a short-term goal in mind, it's less likely to get you the outcome that you want. If you are making choices with a long-term goal in mind, it's much, much more likely to get you the outcome that you want. So I'll say that again. If you're faced with a particular decision to make about something, i.e. do you get out of bed or do you hit snooze and sleep in? Okay? If I get out of bed and go to boot camp, and if I implement that on a regular basis, that is much more likely to create the outcome that I want in my world, which is health and happiness. If I choose not to and hit snooze and stay in bed, that is much more likely to create a particular outcome where I don't feel healthy, I don't feel energetic, I don't feel I can keep up with the kids or the partner, and I don't feel like I feel good about myself. So it's super easy in the moment to make a choice that is about the immediate consequences. So I'm just going to do a little recap for you. So the first one is that it's easy to be overwhelmed with choice, or the opposite to that, sometimes you don't feel like you've got enough choice. If you're in that situation and you don't feel like you've got enough choice, it's about stepping back to get perspective. The other point about this particular Facebook Live is literally that I don't believe there are good or bad choices in that sense. There are simply choices that we make with the information that we have at the time that are going to create certain consequences for us. So what I would encourage you to do today in a way to think about your life quite differently is to consider those parts of your life where you feel like you have no choice. And I want you to do the stepping back exercise and try to come up with 5 different choices that in reality you actually do have about that scenario. So that's your little take-home action for today, to make sure that you are aware every day of the multitude of choices that you have that you can opt into to make your world and make your experience in the world the one that you want it to be at the end of the day. So I'm just going to wrap up by saying eventually, after deciding whether I was going to live stream in the park, down at the beach, in my car, I ended up at home. And it's quite a fantastic choice because there's no wind and there's nothing disturbing me in the background. So in this case, I think I made the particular choice that's going to get me the outcome that I want. But the cool thing about choices is you never really know. It's all a mystery. And to me, that's the best part of life. So I hope you enjoy your mystery of your life and see all the choices and options that you actually have. And jump on our website, which is 3wsbeingmorehuman.com.au. And thanks so much, Mel, for your comments and your contribution during the live stream. See you later, everybody.